We are only ever going to tinker around the edges of South Africa unless we find a way of getting more people employed in decent work with appropriately decent wages. Anything else that we do is tinkering around the edges. We're not going to fix housing. We're not going to fix sanitation. We're not going to fix crime. We're not going to fix any of our challenges unless we put more people in work. And that seems increasingly unlikely. I can't remember the name of the old mutual economist who recently said that under current circumstances, economic policy, labor law, and so on, South Africa is kind of doomed to go between 1 and maybe 2.5% economic growth per annum into the foreseeable future. And then very, very vulnerable to black swan events like COVID and the 2008 financial collapse and so on. And that just to absorb new entrants into the market, we need growth rates of 4-5% in order to get people who've stopped looking for work to start looking for work again, and many of them being successful. We need growth rates of 6 or 7%. And we're just not going to do that as the government keeps doubling down on philosophies, policies, strategies that clearly have not worked. We have to think afresh. We have to come up with new ideas. And News 24 wants to participate in putting those new ideas on the table. Adriaan Basson, editor-in-chief of News 24, joins us now. You're having your own little national dialogue, I read, Adriaan.
Hello, John. I can't agree with you more on your intro, so thanks for that. Yes, we wanted to come in on the fun, and we decided to be a bit more focused about this national dialogue idea. So we have a conference every year called On the Record Summit, and we decided to do our next one particularly on unemployment. As you have pointed out, our unemployment rate at 32% is incredibly high. Whether one agrees with the metrics of how to measure it or not, Harry Fourie from CapeTalk does not. But I think nobody will deny that we have a big unemployment problem and a link to that poverty and all the other social ills linked to that. So yes, we decided to come up with this idea of 5 million jobs in 10 years. We worked with some economists, and we said, at what percentage must the economy grow over the next decade to achieve real job creation? Looking at the growth we experienced in the Mbeki manual years, that was around 6-7% economic growth per year. What kind of jobs we added in those years, and we settled on 5 million jobs over 10 years. So at the moment, we're working with experts and practitioners on different issues like economic growth in places like agriculture, manufacturing, mining. We completely relooking BE with experts and critics of the policy on how that could look like in the next decade. John, we're looking at education and skills and higher education training. You'll remember we did away with the technical colleges in the early 2000s. Now sitting with lots of universities, oversubscribed, people doing BA degrees. Not sure that's the right way to go.
Hold on a second. Don't knock the humanities. They're important. People need to know how to think.
Yeah, but maybe a bit less. I think, unfortunately, people now, from what I've heard from colleagues, just enroll for a degree because they believe that if you have any degree, you'll get a job, which unfortunately is not the case. We have a very high unemployment rate undergraduates. And things like crime and corruption, obviously, we need to look at that. I mean, we cannot grow the economy and get foreign investment if we can't protect businesses. There's still uncertainty over expropriation, without judging, what the policies in that space. We have to talk about it. And then our cities, the research shows that there will be even more urban migration over the next decade. People will be moving closer to cities like Cape Town. That's a working city. So what do we do in that space? There's some academics with fascinating ideas of new cities up the West Coast, for example. So we're also going to look into that, and that will all, the crescendo will be our conference on 19 to 20 March next year at the Cape Town Convention Centre.
Because Government has a role to play. Government doesn't create jobs other than in the public sector, and it's created too many, too highly paid jobs in the public sector, which is not to say that there are not pockets of excellence and individuals of excellence within the public sector, but we're not getting value for money from our public sector. For the rest, it's the private sector that creates jobs, and government's role is to provide an enabling atmosphere, an enabling environment, and to provide the level of policy certainty, a level of confidence in the medium and long-term future that says to business, whether you're a small business with potentially $1 million, $1.5 million to put into expansion, or whether you're a big business potentially going to sink a couple of billion rand into a massive industrial or mining expansion. You need an enabling environment, and you need a degree of certainty about the future. So there's a limit to what citizens and businesses can do. And it's all interlinked. It's all interconnected. We all have to do something better than we're doing it at the moment.
Yeah. Well, you or I don't have to make that argument. President Ramaphosa 2 or 3 years ago in the State of the Nation said it's not government's role to create jobs. And this was a big step down or step change for the ANC that believed that government should be at the center of job creation for 2-3 decades. And it was easy to believe that under 7% growth, but you can no longer say that. We acknowledge that, and in our présie on our website, we actually say to the conference that government does not have the funds. I mean, we out of pocket to create millions of jobs, but they can contribute other assets, physically and regulatory. I mean, John, just looking at, for example, the deeds document regime. I mean, we still have major discrepancies in poor people not having access to their title deeds of their RDP houses, for example, or in rural areas that's under chieftainships. If you can unlock some of those things, people can suddenly get a loan from the bank with their deeds certificate. Other issues could include the swathes of land that government owns and that's not being developed at the moment. And those are some of the best spaces to develop in urban settings. So I agree with you. We're bringing everyone to the table. We've invited from President Ramaphosa to the unions, to business, to labor, and a lot of civil society, and of course also international speakers, because we need to also hear what countries like India, China, Ireland, Poland, apparently Poland doing amazing growth at the moment, what they have done. And then one of my favorite speakers is the Argentinian Minister of Deregulation, Federico Sturzenegger, who's agreed to send us a recorded interview of how they are slashing government expenses in that country under the new administration.
Thank you very much. It'll happen in March. We'll talk more about it closer to the time. Adriaan Basson, news editor, News 24's editor-in-chief.